Hey everyone, today we're into a wild tale. This time, he couldn't Google answers, so confessed the kidnapping to Lucy. He also dropped the bomb about President Choi's death. He was ready to turn himself in, but with his daughter's surgery scheduled for 10 days later, he thought he'd waited. Lucy thought Okyang was alright, he had been taking care of him lately. So he let Okyang go first to avoid getting caught on the spot. Okyang, Lucy entered the police station alone. When a cop car arrived, its sirens blaring and lights flashing, making her head feel like exploding. Okyang turned the corner and was suddenly stopped by the police. He instinctively took off running, with the cops hot on his heels. Lucy suddenly burst out, shouting "Dad!" And Okyang popped his head out, thinking, what's going on now? Turns out, Lucy remembered seeing a police car parked out front the day he escaped. He suspected that his dad's death might be tied to the police, and barging into the station could land him in trouble with the dirty cops, so Okyang took a deep breath. He inquired about Lucy's next move, and Lucy tilted her head, gazing at the apparently harmless Okyang. President Choi's uncle, Ol Choi, was deep in discussion with lawyers about the estate issue, considering President Choi's daughter was missing, making him the second heir. As long as Lucy stayed missing, President Choi's inheritance would go just as planned, and little did Okyang know, trouble was on its way. He was still bragging to Lucy about how he cleverly utilized online tips to deal with the car used for the kidnapping, thinking the police would never find him. Lucy was curious why, in this wealth-rich area, Okyang chose to kidnap him specifically. Okyang blurted out the reason. Subtitles, he acted on his ex-wife's orders. As soon as he spoke, Okyang realized his slip, and Lucy proposed meeting his ex. Okyang mentioned his ex was in Seoul. While he knew where she lived, he didn't have the cash for a cab and had to take the train instead. But as a wanted man, taking public transport means self-surrender. Lucy agreed, telling Okyang to find a phone booth near the station. He called the police to surrender. News reached the station. Shang Ying sent officers to arrest him, and Lucy seized the moment. He dragged Okyang into the station, even managing to buy a ticket to Seoul. Since the cops were only checking middle-aged men with kids, they decided. Lucy randomly found a passerby with a kid, playfully offered to help, and casually carried the kid to the police checkpoint. By the time Shang Yan's team arrived, the two had already boarded the train to Seoul. Meanwhile, Shi Hyun-nan slipped back into Okyang's place. He was looking to see if there were any treasures, but as soon as he turned around, back at the police station, Shang Yan and the others were studying the surveillance footage. They found they'd been duped by Okyang, a truly clever criminal. The Choi's case may be tied to him too. Dopang said shooting may be considered when arresting such dangerous criminals. Shang Yan proposed a public investigation to the team leader. Otherwise, with their little police force, trying to catch someone in Seoul would be like fishing for meat in a bowl of beef noodles, pretty useless. Shi Hyun-nan, tied to a chair, was questioned by a big man with a knife about capturing Lucy, and stammered in reply. Just then, a scream echoed from a distance, and the big guy dashed out, only to find no one after running for quite a while. When he returned, Shi Hyun-nan was dealt with. Clearly, a third party was behind Lucy's kidnapping, besides Okyang and Domu. Meanwhile, Lucy and Okyang had just arrived in Seoul when they spotted the news on the big screen. Okyang was on the wanted list again. After the news, viewers called the Justice Task Force non-stop. Rumors spread Okyang was caught in Seoul for soliciting. Others said he jumped off a bridge. There were even rumors that Okyang was live streaming. All the reports turned out to be meaningless pranks, and Shang Yan didn't hold out much hope for public tips. He found that 3 months before the incident, 5 people had deposited a fortune into President Choi's account. In other words, President Choi received a whopping 10 billion total, which shocked him. Shang Yan summoned the first suspect for questioning. This Dr. Mao is the head of a private hospital and a brain expert, claiming he was backing up a research project. He said President Choi worked with him on the research, with other medical experts supporting 10 billion was just 20. The rest untransferred. Whether President Choi's death had anything to do with this research will undoubtedly be uncovered through the investigation. That night, Okyang finally tracked down his ex-wife, Ajen, and Lucy went straight to the point, asking why she wanted to kidnap her. Ajen's reason was simple. President Choi was suspected of child abuse, and she could never go to the police about it. Lucy thought that reason was a stretch. With her dad's connections, he could easily cover it up. Ajen replied that Lucy was still too naive. We're in the age of social media, some things just can't be kept under wraps, and all she wanted was to borrow 50 million for her daughter's surgery. Speaking of the surgery fee, Okyang suddenly remembered someone kindly offered to help with that. Lucy's dad had already passed away, yet Ajen was completely clueless about it, claiming she hadn't been to Yongren in days. This was odd. Who could be the good Samaritan helping them? Back at the precinct, Shang Ying reviewed the case details. He realized the girl named Lucy seemed no hostage, but a kidnapper's accomplice. Suspicious identity, genius girl, Mensa member from a rich family, parents dead, yet collaborated with kidnappers. All these labels piled up in her mind, sparking dark thoughts. Yet her dark musings were interrupted by the sound of the door opening. Dolpan walked in, handing over files and noting that this Okan guy not only had a criminal record, and his charges were quite tidy. What exactly was Lucy's true intent?